All right, in this video, I'm literally just going to explain to you how to become the CEO of yourself and how I became the CEO of myself, because I went from someone who was literally out of shape, all that stuff, to now, I'm helping grow a business, and, right now we're doing 321K a month. And, I've just been through so much in my life, and here's what I've learned. So the average human lifespan is about 90 in 2026, right? And something that I found is everything is just a personal development game. Once you become the CEO of yourself, I realized that that's really just what life is. I am a CEO of myself, right? So, and here's how I manage myself, because I was reading this book called Manage Yourself. I think that's what it's called. But I pretty much just took some notes and I distilled some of the most valuable information here in this whiteboard, and I'm going to explain to you how I was able to apply this stuff, right? So the first thing is called self-knowledge, which is incredibly important in the whole personal development game, which is being able to learn, stuff. By being able to learn, it's about first identifying what your strengths are. For me, back when I was in college, one of my strengths was I was incredibly good at going to the gym, right? I was super consistent at that. And then I started helping other people get in amazing shape. So I realized I am doing computer science, I'm doing this, but I love the gym. That's one of my strengths. So I basically identified what my strength was, and I doubled down on that. I remember I started an online fitness coaching business. I became a personal trainer, all that stuff. And since then, my life has changed. Now I'm literally helping educators make 10 to 100K a month. So the fact that I was able to identify what my strength is was incredibly important. Now, the second thing in terms of self-knowledge is knowing your values. This is something people don't reflect on, but, something that you could do is do the mirror test to know your values, which is go to the mirror, don't lie to yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and really ask yourself, what is it that you value? What do you like? What do you dislike? What are you against? What are you for? So that way you know what your values are. Is one of your values eating clean food? Is one of your values in life where you want to be able to have time and location freedom? So then that means one of your values is probably starting a business or probably finding a better career, etc., right? So knowing your values is incredibly important. For me, my value was I wanted to be able to build a business. I wanted to have money coming in. I wanted to learn as much as possible. I wanted to have the skills that way when I could do whatever I want, whenever I want, when I need to, which is an incredible value for me. And another value for me was, being around the right people. I valued that, so I was around the right people. Before I was out of shape, I realized I wanted to be in shape. That was one of my values. So once I defined my value, things became way more simple. Next thing is performance models. So understanding how you can perform, right? Not a lot of people reflect on this stuff, but it's incredibly important. For me, in the morning, that's when it's super important, because in the morning I like to meditate, I like to clear my mind, I like to, freshen up, journal, stuff like that, and that aligns me for the rest of the day, which is what I've realized. So this is incredibly important in terms of self-knowledge. And then also understanding what times do you learn the most? What time is can you do deep work? For me, I love doing deep work in the morning, right? So it's really understanding this, which is incredibly important. The next thing is principles of success. Principles of success, one of the most important things from this is learning from experience, not from regurgitated information that most people say online, just because, for example, university, college professors, they literally just regurgitate stuff and stuff that they haven't even done and then tell people that, right? For me, when I'm teaching something, I have helped others do it or I've done it myself. So it's literally from experience, right? Right now, I'm the head of growth at Scale and we're currently doing 321K a month. So I'm literally learning from experience. You get what I'm saying? From experience, from doing the thing. This was the same thing when I was able to hit 10K a month, right? I did it, so I experienced it, and then I was taught others and they were able to achieve it. So this is incredibly important. This is a principle of success, which is not just reading about it, but actually experiencing and then obviously applying the information, because knowledge is useless. Knowledge is only potential power unless you apply the information. The next thing is I learned to manage myself, basically become the CEO of myself, is relationship responsibility, which is understanding the people around you. Like, for example, this was a big one for me because my parents, they didn't understand when I was trying to build a business. They didn't understand a lot of things, right? Because of their belief system. So, I used to get mad at them or even certain people around me. But once I understood this principle, which is, learning the people around me, how they work, then life just became so much better. And so this is incredibly important. The next one is building trust with understanding, right? Not everyone you see is going to have the same experience, the same context and stuff like that. But how you build trust is by understanding the person. You know what I mean? Really listening to them. Next thing is career development. And that's just asking yourself, where do I belong? If you're doing something that you don't like, you want to ask yourself, where do I belong? If you're going to, for example, when I used to be a lifeguard too, and I asked myself, do I want to be do I feel like I belong here? I mean, it was cool, it was fun, but no. I wanted to help people, I wanted to create content, I wanted to build a business, I wanted to make a lot of money, I'm gonna become a billionaire. So I was like, okay, clearly I can't become a billionaire if I'm working this job. So then I started the business, learning even more skills now. And then from there, obviously the plan is to, take humans out of Earth eventually. I want to get to 1 billion first, but there's that. So really understanding where you belong is incredibly important. And then in order to do that, you got to define what work is to you. For example, for me, work is considered me literally tanning in the sun is considered work too, because it's clearing my mind. When my mind is clear, I make better decisions and I could, solve problems better. So really just defining what is work to you. That's incredibly important, right? For example, a lot of people might be like, hey, how are you working? You are outside and you're going for a walk. But it's like, what? Nikola Tesla literally created a majority of his inventions when he went for a walk. And he literally created these light bulbs and stuff like that, right? So defining what you work is incredibly important. And once you understand this tree, you become the CEO of yourself. Hopefully this video is valuable. I try to make it as much valuable as possible. And I'll see you guys in the next video.